It's checking in with Anthony and Glenn, teaching you to be the hotelier that you wanna be. It's checking in with Anthony and Glenn.
Hey, Anthony, man.
My man, Glenn, how you doing?
I'm doing really good today, Anthony. We are deep in the holiday season. I'm very excited for it. And, I just love this time of year.
You know what I love? I love being at the Garden City Hotel here in Garden City. This morning, I came in. I was an hour early. I had breakfast. I had some Eggs Benedict. I had carrot juice. They made it fresh for me. I was very leisurely in getting ready for you. I was preparing some notes. I was answering some emails.
Right.
It was very leisurely and a very nice place to do our podcast from.
Well, it sounds really great that you had such a nice breakfast. Of course, now I'm struck with the fact that you didn't invite me to breakfast this morning.
And I'll tell you why I didn't invite you. Because I don't like being rushed.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if I would be here early.
Right.
I just came and got here early just by accident, haphazardly. And I was here early, and I was like, I'm going to have breakfast. Now, if I said, hey, Glenn, why don't we meet at 9 o'clock?
Right.
They'd be like, son of a bitch, now I got to get up early. Now I got to meet Glenn for breakfast. And I just kind of like going into my day quietly.
Well, I like that too. I'm much more of a quieter entry. And, if you don't want to have, I do definitely want to have breakfast with Anthony, but that may not be possible. But for any of you folks out there, you can have breakfast with Santa on December 15th here at the Garden City Hotel. Reservations are available at 8 a.m., 8:30 a.m., 11 a.m., and 11:30 a.m. here at the Garden City Hotel. That sounds like a really fun event.
That was a nice segue into that little commercial.
You like how I just pulled that in? It was really spontaneous. The whole breakfast thing was all you're doing, and I'm thinking, hey, breakfast with Santa.
That's a good segue.
Yeah, I like it. I loved when I was a kid doing the pictures with Santa Claus
at Macy's.
At Macy's, indeed, on the top floor there, which was always filled with mystery to me because you got to see the Elfland and all that.
And my kids, and I love how they do when you go in to see Santa. There's 27 Santas, but you never know that there's 27 Santas the way they do it.
Right.
And I did it with my children. I never did it when I was a kid. I did it with my children for I think 5 or 6 years. I had more fun when they didn't want to do it anymore. It was like that, and they didn't want to go, Halloween trick-or-treating, and so all those little things that they took away from me. I'm very sad, Glenn.
Oh, that is terrible.
They take these things away from me.
I'll tell you something that will perk you up right now. As promised, when everybody puts up a 5-star review on iTunes for checking in and Anthony and Glenn, we highly suggest that you do subscribe to our show so you never miss our shows twice a week. We got a lot of great ones. One, you're not going to believe this one, Anthony.
I haven't read these, by the way.
No, you haven't. Entertaining, relevant, and honest. No other podcast like it. 5 stars. This person, Mativ, M-A-T-I-V, wrote, I've been in hospitality for almost 30 years, and Anthony has renewed my passion for what I do. It's refreshing to hear someone talk about hotel operations and management, especially a genuine hotelier like Anthony. I didn't think there'd be anything I'd like as much or more than Hotel Impossible, but this podcast is just as motivating and insightful into the day-to-day issues you face in managing a hotel. What I appreciate most in this podcast is the focus on the internal mental challenges one faces, such as how to be a better manager for yourself and others. I've yet to find another forum that addresses these as honestly and well, and then thank you both. So really nice one.
The only thing I got out of that is they mentioned me and not you.
What are you talking about? They mentioned me right at the end. Thank you both.
That's great. And, I always say when we do something or I do something, if people don't say wow, I'm upset.
Yeah.
And so when people give us 5-star reviews, that's a way of them saying wow, because I want to make sure that everything we're doing for the listening audience. And I know sometimes you and I kind of disagree because sometimes I talk too much about the emotional strain that operations have on managers and employees. And sometimes I really talk about that a lot, but I think it's really, really important. It seems to be resonating.
Well, it seems to be really important. I think it is really important, and it certainly does resonate. And I think part of the issues that I may have with that is because I'm not a trained hotelier.
Right.
I'm a hotel observer. I've been a hotel industry journalist since the 1990s, and being an observer is very different than having that day-to-day operations experience. So when you do go down those paths, I feel like I may not necessarily have as much to add to the conversation, which makes me sad.
Oh, okay. Well, I think we add a good amount of flavor to each other, and
absolutely.
I think you bring a perspective I don't bring. And honestly, I learn a lot just listening to you because you talk to all these industry leaders, these Q&As that you're involved in. You just spoke to the general manager from Triumph in New York City. I know those hotels very well.
That's all on my other series, No Vacancy with Glenn Haussman, which is available each week on iTunes and other places.
And so I learned from you. So, you know what I want to talk about today, Glenn?
I do know what you want to talk about today, but tell me anyway so we can seem like it's a surprise.
Tell me what I want to talk about today.
Service animals?
Service animals.
All right,
because no matter where I am in the world, I'm in an airport, restaurant, bar, when you're a hotel guy, first of all, everybody thinks you know every hotel in the world, every general manager in the world, and every hotel opening in the world, which I don't. They certainly think you know everything about service animals and the rules and regulations about service animals.
Right.
And in preparation for this podcast, I actually went online to make sure that I knew and understood the rules of service animals the way that what I understood was exactly what the law says.
Right. And this is really critical to me because what I've seen in the last few years, particularly on airlines and increasingly in hotels, is that people are taking advantage of ADA rules for their own personal benefit when they don't actually need service animals.
Right.
But my understanding of the way rules work is you're not really allowed to ask a person if it's an official service animal, which leaves an opening for the dishonest to get in, which spoils it for the folks that really need it.
And that is actually right. And do you know the only animal that's allowed to be a service animal?
I know there are two.
There are two.
They're dogs.
They're not squirrels. Somebody actually said a squirrel was one, or a pet hamster was one.
I think a squirrel would make a great one, but the other one is actually miniature horses for some reason I know.
Miniature horses. In addition to the provisions above, service dogs, the Department's revised ADA regulations have a new separate provision about miniature horses that have been individually trained to do work or perform tasks for people with disabilities.
That's amazing.
Miniature horses generally range in height from 24 inches to 34 inches, measured in shoulders, and general weight from 70 to 100 pounds. So if I was a horse, I'd be a miniature horse. Because I would fit probably those dimensions for a horse.
I would see you as a miniature bull, not a horse.
Thank you. Do I really? Everybody calls me the bull. I don't know why people say that about me.
It's your fierce exterior demeanor. We don't know that mushy inside that you have.
And do you know you're not allowed to ask for a certification or a permit? You're allowed to ask two questions. You know what they are?
I would like to know what they are because this is important because hoteliers are very confused about how to handle these situations. Right? And because they're so difficult in order to handle these particular situations, they don't know whether or not they could exclude people, let in people, whatever it might be.
And as you're talking, I'm trying to find the two questions you can ask, and I was so prepared, and now I can't find them.
Well, that's all right. I can.
One is, I know this for sure. Do you have, or is the dog for a disability? Do you have the dog for a disability? That's all you can ask.
Right.
And do you know that there's no certification required and you can train your own service dog?
I did not know
There's
that.
no training facility. You can train your own service dog and you can put a service dog tag on them. You can have a certification that says they're service trained. There's a place to go to get a certification. Once you say your dog's trained, you can buy it off the internet or get it off the internet, but you don't have to have one. They cannot ask for one, and you don't have to have any tags on your service animal to say they're a service animal.
Not even one of those little sweaters that say service dog on it.
No. So why is this such a big thing in our community?
I think it's a big thing in our community because people are definitely taking advantage of it. I've seen over the last few years, again, I see this an awful lot on airplanes and increasingly in hotels, is this whole idea of taking along dogs and claiming they're service animals when I do or do not necessarily believe they are indeed service animals. There's this whole fascination of women taking dogs as, accessories as opposed to being service animals.
Right, and I think we have to be very clear and very, very clear about how we feel about service animals. My personal opinion is it's obvious if somebody needs a service animal and it's a real service animal and the person isn't taking advantage of the pretty loose laws, then of course, not only should you bring the service animal, and not only should we be polite and respectful, but we should go out of our way to do everything to make that service animal comfortable.
Right. But I feel that we don't know if it's obvious if it's a service animal or not, because there's a lot of mental illness in the country,
Right.
for example. And if you have, if you're on the autism spectrum, for example, you might need a service animal to comfort you and give you that feeling of safety and security when you're flying or you're in a strange place such as a hotel room. That's not readily obvious, and that opens up the door for people to game the system and be dishonest.
So this is what I say, and I say this to the first-time employee in a hotel. When somebody's trying to game the system, as you say,
Right.
So what? You're not the Gestapo. You're not a trained detective. Who cares? So if that service animal is a service animal, not a service animal, so what? Just deal with it like it is, because it could be, and then you can get yourself in a lot of trouble if it is a real service animal. So to me, it doesn't matter. Now, if I'm on a plane and I see 27 service animals, does it bother me? It only bothers me if it sits on my lap and licks my face, and if it barks through the whole flight. But that doesn't usually happen. I usually have my headphones on. So listen, at the end of the day, I'm really not bothered by even the imitation service animals. So you really, to me, just it's another thing in your life that, like, if you stress about that, if people are traveling and they're like stressed out and they're talking, they're spending 10, 20 minutes, 30 minutes in a coffee shop in an airport saying, "Oh my God, I hate these service animals." Like, spend 20 or 30 minutes, meditating.
Right.
Like, just let it go, because until there's rules and regulations that are a little bit stronger, you're not going to be able to know who or guess. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't realize they were so lenient. I didn't know you can train your own service animal. I did not know that you didn't have to have a certification. I did not know that you didn't have to wear that vest if you were a service animal, saying you're a service animal. I didn't know any of that.
Yeah, neither did I. But I will tell you, living in Smithtown, there's actually a guide dog foundation in my community, which is great. And I see them training these dogs up and down my main street all the time. So it's great to see that people are out there doing that. But people are taking advantage. For example, there was a kerfuffle that happened at the Walt Disney World complex recently, within the last 6 months or so.
A kerfuffle?
A kerfuffle.
A kerfuffle.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know there was a kerfuffle.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's not as much fun as canoodling with somebody.
Or
It's
kerfuckle.
Right. All right. Explicit warning on the show. All right. So what happened was in the
That's when you're having sex in the back of a car, by the way.
So over at the Disney Springs complex, this woman was taking service animals to train, and it's private property there. And they told her that you can't train service animals here, and she says it's illegal to not allow me to do that. And they're like, no, you can have a service animal, but you can't train service animals here because they're not trained yet to
And
be
what's the
service
law? I
animal.
don't even know.
I don't know what the law is, but I think that the Disney lawyers are probably on the right side of this, because training dogs up and down Main Street in Smithtown is a little bit different than going to a privately owned shopping complex.
And everything I've read, and I've read a lot of stuff over the weekend about it, I didn't see anything about that you have to allow me to train my dog.
Right.
I don't think that is a rule. But I'll tell you things that you should know.
Yeah.
Can hotels charge for a service dog?
Well, they charge sometimes for just bring a dog with you because there are cleaning issues that might happen, but I don't think you can for a service dog, because that would be under a discrimination.
Under the ADA
category,
laws,
right?
the hotel cannot charge an extra fee for the service animal as they would another client with a pet. This also means you and your dog will be allowed in the public areas of the hotel, as well as having the right to a floor and room that are normally designated for people traveling with pets.
Mm-hmm. Right.
What to expect with hotels and service dogs? When traveling with a service animal, according to the ADA, the hotel staff only has the right to ask two questions. Is your dog a service dog?
Right.
What task does your service dog provide? Those are the two questions you're allowed to ask. If the task is a parent seeing eye dog, wheelchair related, the staff has no right to inquire about either the service dog or your disability. When dealing with ignorant hotel staff members, presenting your service dog certification and identification card can help alleviate tensions. Remember, the staff members are only employees and may not be properly trained. Please keep that in mind.
Right.
In addition, the hotel staff has to act according to the rules of conduct the general public should adhere to concerning a service dog. This includes not petting the dog, speaking to or teasing the dog, and no feeding the dog. The staff is also not required to help you perform any of the tasks related to the service dog, such as taking it out to relieve itself, feeding, handling, etc. Now, when it says the service dog certification identification card, Now, you have to register your dog just like you would register your house dog.
Right.
So that registration or certification is the same thing. So you can get a certification online for a service dog, but it's not required by law. And you're certainly not allowed to ask for it.
Yeah.
But it helps you as the person with the service dog, if you have a certification and a registration, just to show the employee that maybe not trained well.
Right. Yeah. Here's the thing, though. People seem to take umbrage with that, and I see people that are doing it unethically take more umbrage at it in a lot of ways because they know they're breaking the rules here. So when you ask me those two questions, I could say yes, it's a service animal, and I could say yes, it's an emotional support animal, or I could say yes, it's for it's to sense that I'm going to have an epileptic seizure, right?
You don't have to say anything. You say yes, it's for a disability.
Right.
You don't have to tell me what it's for.
Right. So in that case, then I could see why hoteliers become skeptical, especially if they see.
But who cares? But this is my point,
I know.
Glenn.
Agreed.
Who gives a shit? It's like you're in the service business. They have a service
Right.
dog. You deal with it. You're not a detective. You deal with it. And this is what frustrates me with general managers, with employees, with everyone. Okay, it's part of the business.
Yes.
What happens if somebody breaks my bed? What happens if somebody chips my wall? What happens if somebody breaks my chandelier? What happens if somebody dents the hotel car? Who gives a shit? We're in a business. We have insurance. We're in a business to provide service. If someone, for some reason, can't be away from their dog and they're full of shit, I am not going to care. I am going to be too busy making them comfortable and too busy enjoying my life than to negotiate with
Right.
you whether you're an idiot or not and you're playing me.
All right, so I really wish that a lot of hoteliers took that attitude, but they don't because they're seeing a rise.
But that's a life attitude. That's
Agreed.
just not a dog attitude.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or service dog
Right,
attitude.
and I think it plays into a lot of issues, especially when it comes to ADA compliance, because there seems to be increasing friction between the disability community and the hospitality industry in general caused by this pet issue and the pool lift issue in particular. So what's happening that's putting hoteliers, I think, on guard is that there's something now called ADA drive-by lawsuits that are happening, where this is not service animal related, this is pool lift related, where you could look on Google Maps, right, and see a hotel has a pool and doesn't have a pool lift, and then file a lawsuit without actually being discriminated against at the property level, and that's starting to cause a lot of consternation amongst hotel
and that's
owners.
absolutely horrible and against the law, and that person should not be allowed
Agreed.
to do that. With that said, I've been in meetings,
Yes, sir.
in development meetings where owners say, I'm not going to spend the $5,000 on the lift.
Right.
Let's get the ticket and then we'll deal with it. And I'm like, no.
Right.
It's not about the $5,000 ticket. It's not about any of that. What it's about is a person that is in a wheelchair cannot get to the pool. Now, so just deal with that, and it's a good law. It's
Right.
it's a good law. Now, I've seen a law. The law is good law, but I've also seen requirements where you have to have a pool lift when you don't have to have a ramp down to the pool. So I've seen pool lifts in a pool that a person in a wheelchair physically can't get to.
Right.
I've seen that, and that's ridiculous. You should make them put in ramps before you make them put a pool lift in. But to me, again, I put the onus on the owner and the manager. If the damn thing says put a chairlift in, put a damn chairlift in. Now you can also get a chairlift that you can pull out. So you can take it.
I think that it's illegal to have temporary
No, it's
pool
not
lifts.
temporary. But I'm allowed to take it out and put it to the side.
Right.
And when required, put it back in.
Are you
I'm not
sure?
100%, I'm not 100% sure.
I'm pretty sure that the law is that you have to.
Well,
there's got
to be a permanent
fixed.
structure, but the chair itself
I
can
see.
come out.
Okay.
As I understand it, I could be wrong, and
Because the arguments that the
we'll
disability
look at that.
community is saying is that it affects their dignity if they have to ask for that to be installed and then wait around for people
It
to
could be,
put
and
it
I
in,
could be wrong.
Which
So
I
we'll check
totally
that.
which I totally understand. The other thing that I think is interesting is I do believe fundamentally that more people need these types of requirements as our population continues to age, and we don't look at that enough either. Hey guys, I know this is a great conversation, but we need to hear a word from our sponsor. We'll be right back after this message. Hey everybody, Len here. So listen to this. Cobblestone Hotels is celebrating their 10th anniversary, and man, have they accomplished a lot in the last decade. Already they have more than 150 hotels throughout the United States, but they're in smaller and medium-sized markets
those markets that the big franchise companies, they're underserving, they're overlooking, and in some cases just ignoring. But Cobblestone is an expert in these markets. And their president and CEO, Brian Wagernes, listen, I've gotten to know him in the last 10 years, and he has worked every job possible, including being an owner and operator. I can personally vouch for how awesome this company is, how awesome he is as an individual, because he understands the importance of finding the right combination of hotel brand and franchise owner. He's also an incredibly dedicated professional. Whether it's a Cobblestone Hotel and Suites Main Street design, Borders Inn and Suites, or one of the newly acquired brands such as Boulders Inn and Suites, Key West Inns, Centerstone Inns and Suites, Cobblestone has brands that range from economy to upper mid-tier, and one that's right for you. Quite simply, Cobblestone Hotels is the franchise for franchise owners. Patrick Mullenix, well, he's Cobblestone's new president of franchise development. Give him a call or check out their website at cobblestonefranchising.com. But give Patrick a call. He's a great guy. I've known him for a really, really long time, too. You can find him at 920-216-0620. That's cobblestonefranchising.com. And tell him Glenn sent you.
Again, if you're in the hospitality industry and you're pissed off about service dogs and handicap chairs, please get the fuck out of my industry.
Right.
Literally, just run out of my industry and go do something else, because I just look at life that way.
Totally.
I try to be a positive person. And if you're really obsessed with people trying to game you on a service dog, it's like, instead of saying, hey, that person wants to be with the dog,
right,
maybe they don't have the money, whatever. It's like, yeah, is it irritating if I sat down and talked about it and really thought about it? I would be pissed off, yes. But guess what? I'm too busy in my life being positive to worry about people trying to game me, right? So that's one thing. But one of the things I want to make sure that I talk about,
yes, sir,
is so everybody in the industry kind of knows what to do. I want to go through these few.
I think that's a great idea.
These few bullet points.
All right, Anthony, go for it.
Hotel stays with your service dog. Just because you have a disability doesn't mean you should be stripped of your rights to stay in a hotel with your service dog. Under the ADA, hotels cannot refuse you and your service canine accommodations, and they cannot ask you personal questions about your condition or your dog certification. If an improperly trained hotel staff member makes any of these mistakes, don't hesitate to ask the manager. Staying in an Airbnb with your service dog. Ooh. I knew you were going to say ooh. I knew it. I was watching your face. Ooh, you didn't think that was coming?
No, I didn't.
As Airbnb becomes more popular with travelers, people have asked us if service dogs are allowed in Airbnb rentals. Airbnb hosts in the United States must allow animals if they are renting out the entire home or apartment to an Airbnb guest. And Airbnb's non-discrimination policy requires hosts to allow all service animals into their home unless local laws restrict access for service animals. Please research your international destination before booking an Airbnb with your service dog. Okay.
Interesting.
Basically, this was put in place. The ADA, American with Disabilities Act, was established in 1990. Was put in place a way to prevent establishment from discriminating against those people with a physical or mental disability. Now, I will tell you something.
Yes, sir.
I have a dear friend, Anthony Amarillo, who unfortunately had a horrible accident when he was a teenager, and he is in a wheelchair. And he's trying to get a lift, and hopefully I'm trying to help him whatever little I can do. And he's been really pushing to get a lift to get onto a bed, because he's not able to get onto these big beds now that everybody has. So it's very difficult, even from the wheelchair, for him to get on these beds. And hotels don't care. And he's been in touch with people. I've written letters, and people don't care. Now, I know if somebody has a handicap, can't get on my bed, you're paying $400 a night and you have to sleep on the floor? That's ridiculous. So every single hotel
that's just disgusting.
Should have a lift to get somebody on the bed. Now, are you ever going to use it? I mean, I can count on one hand how many times I used the wheelchair in the hotel. Okay? No, you're probably not going to. Excuse me. You're probably not going to use it very often. But if somebody needs it and they're paying $400, $500, and he's paid $400, $500, $600 a night for a room, and he's had to sleep on the floor,
that's just cruel.
It's horrific. Now, as a person, a full body person, I've never had a problem, never broke a bone. I've recently, as you know, broke my ankle, and I've been hopping around still on crutches. And I'll tell you something. I never realized those handicap bars in bathrooms, how important they are. They've saved my butt a couple of times. Or going through an entrance that is really not handicap accessible. How many times I've almost fallen on my face.
Right.
So I've always been respectful and always appreciative of people with disabilities, but it really blows my mind that in this industry that people aren't empathetic to. So when you have an ADA compliance issue to deal with, instead of looking at it from a dollar standpoint, instead of looking at it from, ADA again, everybody, oh my God, here we go again with ADA. Think about if you were in a wheelchair, or God forbid your family member was in a wheelchair, or your family member needed a service animal. So get over it.
Right. I just look at
It's horrific.
I look at my mom, who's 75 now, and she's slowing down, and she has mobility issues, and she needs those bars in the bathroom, and she needs that ADA compliant room because she can't step into the bathtub to take a shower.
I've almost felt in my own shower, and it's only three,
Right.
Not even, maybe 12 inches. I have a little lift on in my shower, and my shower stall. And I'll tell you something. For the first 5 weeks, up until last night, I couldn't get in that shower stall without help. It was horrible.
That is horrible.
And so again, I want to start looking at EDA compliant rules and looking at service dogs as say, oh, really? How do we get around this? Just deal with it. It's part of the business, and it's horrific that you would try to get around it. It's horrifying to me.
It is. It definitely is. So, anything else that you think we need to say on
Yes,
this
I do.
topic? Oh,
Glenn,
that's exciting.
I think that there's other things that we should talk about.
Okay.
We should talk about how cute this dog is that I'm looking at right now. It looks like my old dog, Sandy. No, I think that basically is it. So what I want to leave you with is you're not allowed to ask for certifications. A service dog could be trained by the owner, which I personally find a little weird, that you don't have to have a certification and you don't have to have him trained by a professional.
Right.
I would think that we do have to make regulations that kind of protect everyone, protect us from the fakers, because like I said,
Agreed.
the fakers I have to deal with until the laws are a little bit better. So I don't think if I had a serious handicap that I needed a service dog, I don't think it's asking me a lot to be able to get that animal certified, and I'd have to show that certification or have that certification somewhere on the animal. I think that's really reasonable. However, with that said, since you don't have to have it, just deal with the fakers. There's nothing you can do with it. And if somebody is going to fake a service animal, that person is going to have that come back in karma.
Right.
Because that's just bad karma. Because that's doing an injustice to people that need service animals.
Yeah, it really is, and we're looking at you, guy who brought the service peacock to the airport that one time.
Or we're looking for you, the person in the dormitory that said to their roommate that hamster is a service hamster.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So you got to do the right thing no matter what. We don't need to tell you have to do the right thing, but just be sure you are doing the right thing. Because even sometimes when you think you're doing the right thing and asking these questions because you think it's the right thing to do, it's the wrong thing to do.
An error on the side of not asking questions.
Right.
Just deal with it. If the dog poo-poos and they say it was a service dog, clean up the poo-poo. You're not going out of business because the dog poo-pooed on your carpet. And if you are going out of business because the dog poo-pooed on your carpet, you're probably going out of business anyway.
Right. And if one thing I did learn from our podcast recently with Justin Kellerman, the GM of the Park South Hotel in Manhattan, is don't pay a lot of money extra for them to clean up the poop.
Right. What's the name of that podcast? That's a funny one to listen to.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look up the name on
but
it.
what he's telling you is that there was a general manager, and he really didn't want to tell me any really behind-the-scenes stories, and I pushed him a little bit, and he told us about a person that was in the union, and he would get paid $25 every time he picked up poop outside the hotel because after the hotel was open, a residence opened next door, and dogs were pooping in front of the hotel. So instead of waiting for a housekeeper, the union and the hotel agreed that they would pay this gentleman, the bellman, $25 every time he picked up poop. And what happened, Glenn?
He was very inspired by this, and an entrepreneur, and convinced all the people in the building to have their dogs poop right there in front of the thing, so he would be able to clean up the poop and make. He was making about $100 a day or something like that. All right, that episode is episode 27, GM Secrets to Power Your Way to Success. So be sure to check that one out, episode 27. So before we wrap up today, Anthony, anything you want to say before we close this
I
thing
do.
out?
I want to find a question to that we had during the podcast that I can't remember right now.
Okay.
That we didn't have the answer to. So tell me something I don't know about you, Glenn,
All
so
right.
I can look up that question that I don't remember the question.
Excellent. Well, I will tell you something you don't know.
What was the question?
I have no recollection. We've been in the show 28 minutes now. I have no
Okay,
idea.
so two old guys and a mic.
Right.
So when you
Well,
listen
that's
to
good. We used to be two morons in mic, so we're getting promoted here.
So when you listen to the podcast and you come to the point where we're both saying we don't know if that's the right regulation or the wrong regulation, we're not sure of the rule, could you please text us
Yeah.
and remind us
Yeah.
so we don't have to listen back?
All right, so I'll tell you something I don't know. As we're recording this last Friday night, I decided to have a little blast of the past, and I wanted to get my kids involved with it. So I took them to go see at the planetarium Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon laser light show.
We were just talking about it.
Yeah?
Did you give him a joint?
No, no. But if you would listen to,
Is that still playing?
If you would listen to episode 26, Hotel Icon bets the future on pot hotels.
You'll understand the reference we were making.
Yeah. Great time.
Wait, it's still
lot of
going
fun.
on?
It's still going on, and it's still like the graphics from like the early 1990s and stuff like that.
Are you kidding me?
No, it was such a hoot to do that.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was even entertaining sober because I got to enjoy it through my kids' eyes, and watching them watch that for something that had a lot of meaning to me in my life was priceless.
Wow, I might have to bring my teenage daughters to see that, see if they'll actually sit down for 5 minutes and do that. You know what? That blows me away that they're still making money on the same show all these years later. And you know what also blows my mind? Space Mountain.
Yeah, Space Mountain's great.
It hasn't moved. They haven't changed the color, the paint, or anything for 30-something years, and it's still one of the biggest rides in Disney World.
Well, I went over the summer to Disneyland Paris. I was in on a job there in July.
I've never been there.
I wanted to go see it because it's always been considered one of the nicest ones in terms of thematics and design and the money that they put into it when it was first built. So I wanted to go and see that. And their whole Tomorrowland is built on like the Jules Verne idea of the future as opposed to actually what we think the future is going to be. And they have a great Space Mountain that's very steampunk looking, but they transformed it into Hyperspace Mountain, right? So they play Star Wars music and they have like TIE fighters and stuff like that in there. So it's a real hoot.
Overall, is it a better park than Disney World in Orlando?
It's very, very different. The Magic Kingdom and this one are different. There's no Splash Mountain, for example, but the Space Mountain has inversions in it, which the United States one doesn't have. The Pirates of the Caribbean ride is better than the Magic Kingdom, but not as good as Disneyland. They've got they've got some cheesy off-the-shelf rides. They got an Indiana Jones roller coaster that's kind of cheesy, not that's all cracked up to be. And they've got over at the Studios Park, they got a Ratatouille ride, which is a trackless system that they're building right now at Epcot.
Oh,
so
cool. Stick
stick around for a year and a half, and that'll be open. So, Anthony, tell me something that I don't know about you.
Every Black Friday, I take my 3 daughters, my 2 nieces, and my 1 nephew, and we go on a secret itinerary they know nothing about. I know about it. That would be weird if I didn't know about it.
Yeah,
I
it
didn't know
would
where
be,
I was going. And sometimes I take it to Broadway. The last couple of years, we've been staying in the hotel.
Yeah.
And this year, we went to the beautiful Hoboken.
Oh.
My friend Manny, who's the general manager, was very kind, and we got a beautiful room, 3-bedroom suite. I slept on the couch as usual. And they were lovely, and they gave us the best amenity. I actually posted it. The young lady, I can't remember. It's not called the concierge in the W. It's called something else. I can't remember.
No. So look that up and send us an email.
Yeah, look at that up and tell me what that's called. And I'll know who's watching or listening, I should say. So they looked online. They saw that I'm from Brooklyn. They saw that I loved Coney Island. And they basically put together an amenity that encompassed Coney Island and Brooklyn. So they had the like a crane to pick up toys, like a little crane toy thing in my room. They had hot dogs made of cake that looked really like hot dogs.
Yum.
They had bubble gum. I love bubble gum, like the old-fashioned bubble gum.
Like Hubba Bubba?
Hubba Bubba gum. And just a really, really unique and really thoughtful amenity. And so we spent our Black Friday hanging out there. We went, I got the massages. They all got massages. 2 or 3 of them never had a massage before, and they all came back. If you ever want to get your kids off phones and you ever want to get your kids kind of really chill, get them a massage. Spend the money and get them a massage, because they all came back and like, how you doing?
Yeah.
I was like, you guys all right? How was it? It was great. Uncle Tom, what are we doing? I'm not sure. All right, whatever you want to do, we'll do. I don't care. Yeah. It was like, did you go get a massage? Joel could get stoned.
I know, right? That's exactly what I was thinking. But I think we've had enough pot reference already.
No, but it was fun. So Black Friday, that's your tradition, and they're getting older now. So my everybody, the youngest one is 16, the oldest one is almost 20. So I'm asking them, like, when will this end? Mm-hmm. Will you allow me to do this forever? And it's like, they will. So when they have kids and they have
That's awesome.
families, they're saying we're still doing it. And the one rule is no one else is allowed. No boyfriends, no girlfriends, no other parents.
Wow.
Only me and them, and that's the only rule.
That's beautiful. I love that. I had a friend that when his parents, when the father's child turned 30, they went away on like a 2-week exotic vacation just to be together. Yeah. I love those kinds of things. Right. But for now, I'm just going to have to stick to taking my kids to the occasional laser light show.
You know what I like about it? 364 days a year. They're basically adults now, right?
Right.
They're kind of their own person. And yeah, we spend time together, we have dinners together and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, like, I don't get to basically set an agenda or an itinerary and really anticipate what they will like and what they will enjoy and really hit it every single time. And through my connections in the industry, my friends have always been John Talbert who used to run the Palace Hotel and now runs the Waldorf in Boca, hooked us up at the Palace when he was there and put us in the King Suite. And when I say King Suite, I mean the King's Suite from Saudi Arabia, who had built when he was sick. And we walked in, and the room we're in right now, we're in a banquet room, a pre-function room to the bigger room, to the Grand Ballroom at the Garden City Hotel. And this room, I would say, is the living room of the suite that he gave us. And how big is this room, Glenn?
Pretty large.
3,000 square feet? 2,000 square feet?
Yeah, maybe.
2,500 square feet?
I'll go for 1,500.
1,500. 2,000 square feet. I'll say 2,000
okay,
square feet.
let's say it.
2,000 square feet. And this was the living room.
Right.
This was the living room.
Yeah.
So it was so funny.
Wow,
a funny
what a
story.
suite.
So we get up to the suite, and I have no idea he's hooking us up like this,
yeah.
right? We get up, and we open the front door, and all the kids just go crazy. They go, oh, my God. This is about 2-3 years ago. And they run in, they see the amenities, and they all go crazy for the amenities. They see the beautiful views of the city, but then they go look for their bedrooms. So they all run to the bedrooms. And my nephew, Ryan, and my daughter, Mia, are the ones who always kind of go slower.
Right.
And always, they take things easier and slower, and they're not, chaotic. So they're walking through the suite, and everybody got their room, and they're like, oh, now where are we going to sleep? They actually found the back bedroom, which was the king's room, which is twice the size of the room we're in right now. So they won. Matter of fact, it's so big it had a barbershop in it.
Right. What?
It had a barbershop overlooking Central Park. It was overlooking the park. It was amazing. I've been very blessed and humbled that my friends on Black Friday hooked me up.
That's really awesome. So let's bring this show home, Anthony. How can we find you?
You can find me at Anthony Hotel. You look like you got bored at the end of the show, Glenn. I was talking. You look like you got bored.
No, not bored. Not bored at the content.
He has no idea what to say.
No,
you're a little confused right now.
Well, here's
Glenn.
the thing. You accuse me of that every other show. Maybe, and I'm running out of snappy things to say back
do I
to you.
Really? So I apologize.
You confuse my deep thought of what we're going to do.
Well, you're on next. You're on next. That's what it is.
Right.
So okay. So you don't want, because he's the brains of the operation. So I have to be a little bit more polite because I don't have to think about what's next.
That's right.
You're thinking about it.
You get to just go and do whatever you want.
Right. Just put gas in the car and go.
Right. That's right. And I got to figure out where to fuel up and how to open the.
So I'll never say that again, and I apologize.
No, no need to apologize. But I do, Anthony, because I've only done 28, 29 of these shows with you right now over the last few months. I still don't know how to find you. How can I find Anthony Melchiorri online?
Find me at Anthony Hotels, anywhere you want to be on the internet.
Excellent. And I'm at Traveling Glenn. And this has been Checking In with Anthony and Glenn. Any final thoughts before we wrap up here?
Yeah. Remember, you're in the hospitality business. Be hospitable.
Right. That's right. Be hospitable. And sometimes things aren't going to go your way. Just take a deep breath, be the bigger person, and understand your job is to make people feel good about themselves, even if you feel you're being slighted.
Even when people are spittable, you be hospitable.
Right. I love that. I hate spittable people.
I hate spittable people. I always spit on spittable people.
Not fun. But if you want, the Anthony and Glenn Spit Shields are coming out next month, so we got that. So, all right, this show's Off the Deep End. I want to thank you all for checking in.
It's checking in with Anthony and Glenn, teaching you to be the hotelier that you wanna be. It's checking in with Anthony and Glenn.